Right now, it is time to welcome Tommy Rooney to the show. Tommy, how are you getting on?
Good morning, Owen. Good morning, Johnny. How are
Morning,
you
Tommy.
doing?
This is a big morning for you, Tommy. It's a big,
It
it's a
is.
big day for OTBAM because we have been the show that have been graced with the exclusive on this news.
Yes, Owen. Pretty big news. We've been waiting for this moment for quite a while. I'm delighted to announce that the football pod is going on the road this summer. We're going to be hitting up a couple of venues. Johnny Ward, I hope to see you there one of the afternoons. We are going to be live on June 2nd. We are hitting the road. Paddy Andrews and James O'Donoghue and myself are going down to Castlebar in County Mayo to lift the spirits of a broken county.
Well, what a place
on
to
this-
start. What a place. Like Mayo. Is there a greater football like mecca in the world, really?
What's the mecca like? Is it
As in
bacon?
like that is literally all that like Mayo is just Mayo is football. It's incredible the support they have. I've never seen
I
that.
would say it's the footballing knock of Ireland.
Which is in Mayo
Which
actually.
is, yeah, it all comes together nicely.
Where
Very
we
true.
go-
Well, we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see, Johnny. And look, it's going to be on Thursday, June the 2nd. This is what I'm really excited about. It's when the summer is really heating up. It's right before that June bank holiday weekend. The previous weekend, we'll have all the provincial finals, the four of them. The weekend after that, the weekend before the road show, the first round of the qualifiers that Mayo are in, that Armagh are in, that one of Derry or Tyrone are going to be in. It's going to be class. We're really looking forward to it. It's in the Royal Theatre in Castlebar, which is a brilliant venue. It's going to be Paddy, as I said. It's going to be James. We may have a Mayo legend there on the night as well.
Ooh.
So details
Andy
to be
Moran?
revealed about that too.
It's my guess.
Details
Yeah.
to be revealed about
TBC.
that yet. TBC. So tickets are on sale today from 9 a.m. and we would love to see you there. You can check out Ticketmaster and search for the Football Pod Live and you'll find it. It's pretty cool, Johnny. If you go there right now, there's a countdown clock, an hour and 5 minutes. It's like we've been waiting for this moment. A live off the ball road show on the road. The GA events, they're back.
And the timing couldn't be better because I'm sure this is obviously deliberate, but football qualifiers begin that weekend, the June bank holiday weekend, and of course, people of Mayo limbering up for another epic journey through the couple of rounds of qualifiers before inevitably getting to an All-Ireland final again.
Well, that's it, Owen. And I think that's the weekend when the football championship is really going to take off. The Tailteann Cup is kicking off in and around that time. That's when the knockout starts. That's when teams are their journey is going to end. Qualifiers are back for the first time in 2 years. This year it's different. We know that they're going to be much more difficult than the Sam Maguire. There's only 15 teams, I think, max that can get in. Maybe 17 if Tip and Cavan reach the provincial final. But it's going to be an explosive week, and it's also the June bank holiday weekend. It's when the summer feels like it really begins for us. So we can't wait for it. We hope to see you there. The interest around the podcast has been brilliant for the last 2 years, so it'd be fantastic to see some of the fans and supporters and the listeners out in the night, and any Mayo people that are mad about their football, or indeed people from other counties that are interested in coming along. We will have other events in the summer, some exclusive events. Johnny mentioned football meccas, counties that are crazy about their football. We will be in a couple of other places, so let us know if you want to see us in your town.
I see you've been robbing Nathan Murphy's LOI late night idea as well for the Gaelic Games.
That, well, to be fair to Nathan Murphy, I think it was actually his idea to get it going on a Sunday night. It's been pretty fun, Johnny. Like, it's good fun opening up the phone lines to people and listening into their thoughts. I've listened to some of the League of Ireland stuff. I love it. I haven't caught many League of Ireland games this year, but I've listened into League of Ireland late night.
He's a big fan of your
3 or 4
stuff.
times on a Friday.
Oh yeah.
Really enjoy your buses back home from the matches and the bit of life and vigour that we get.
Yeah, the post match stuff is good because people are kind of raw and they don't have much time to think about things.
No, I think that it's interesting. What we're probably going to end up discovering over the course of the next few months is like the divergence in the psyche between the League of Ireland fan and the GEA fan. Is the GEA fan a more stoic, Irish, I'm going to keep my opinions to myself person, and is a League of Ireland fan a more heart in the sleeve? Yes, I will click the let me speak button and let me get my opinions away. I think it'll be an interesting social study over the course of the next few
Hopefully
months.
from a boozer in Galway.
Yeah, so Tommy will be leading the charge on that one. So you're right, Tommy. That is going to be the weekend where the football championship is going to spring into life. It's going to be a weekend where hopefully the sun is out. Leaving cert weather around that time, I presume. So you want to get your tickets for that. So Castlebar into the June bank holiday weekend is going to be an absolute cracker. Brilliant news. So that's coming your way over the course of the next little while. Make sure to listen to the Football Pod every week for, week to week, brilliant analysis. And this week, Tommy, I dare say, it's all about the Dubs kicking off this weekend, because in the back pages, as I'm sure you've seen over the last couple of days, it's been about James McCarthy getting the captaincy and Conor O'Callaghan making his return.
100%. I think we have a little clip here, Owen. It was a busy weekend. I'd love to talk a bit about Galway with Johnny, because they obviously caught Mayo in a very interesting way. But we obviously got talking about that in the Football Pod this week. But Paddy Andrews couldn't help himself. He got very, very excited. Have a listen.
Dublin kind of got under the radar.
Is Conor O'Callaghan back?
I hope so. I bloody hope so. It's been what 4 weeks or 5? It'll be 5 weeks since Dublin played Monaghan and Clonus in that league game. So there was talk that he was around the squad at that point. So you're hoping that, the offensive side of things was a little bit suspect towards the end of the National League. So looking to tidy those things up. They've had, a month to kind of look at things. Dublin get things right, lads. Now, biased and all that stuff, they are in the mix. They need to get the things right, but we'll get a glimpse on Saturday and see where they're at. I expect them to win the game comfortably, but there's certain things that they'll be looking to get out of this performance, and definitely the King back on the square will be a massive plus for them.
The King back in the square. Well, the Wolf is certainly back. The Dubs haven't been mentioned in about 4 weeks. It's great to have you back, Paddy.
Thank you.
I'm kind of with Paddy Andrews on this. I think that there is, by process of elimination, Dublin have slowly but surely risen up the ranks of who might actually win the All-Ireland this year, Tommy, I think. I mean that by Mayo losing last week, and not Armagh. I think Armagh maybe were a bit below Dublin anyway come the end of the league, I felt, just form-wise. But it just kind of feels that people are looking around and they're like, who's actually going to take this All-Ireland if we accept that maybe Kerry haven't got the job done yet, Tyrone with their players walking away, and Mayo being Mayo?
I think you're right. I think it's been, in a way, a kind of funny couple of weeks. It's been such a tight turnaround from the league. We felt like a couple of teams tapered off at the end of the league. Kerry, as you said, are the only ones that have asserted themselves, but they obviously haven't done it yet. I do think that this is one of the most fascinating championships we've had in well over a decade.
Oh, 100%, Tommy. Dublin are 7-2. 7-2. Dublin were pretty much odds on year after year after year. They're 7-2. They're nowhere near favourites. And you look at even the likes of Galway now thinking, we've a chance here. You have 7 or 8 teams who could think realistically, we could at least be thereabouts.
Yeah, 100%. And it's as you said, Galway now have opened the door for themselves. Could they have a repeat of a summer like 98? I put that out the other week and I got shot down. I feel like it was a couple of Mayo fans that came out of the woodwork after Sunday's beating. But Dublin, how can you write off Dublin? Really,
Well, the parallels as well, just the parallels. I think Sean O'Dupuer RT did a piece about the renaissance of Connacht football in the 90s, and Sean O'Dupuer said that for him, if it weren't one of the most enjoyable games or one of the biggest games of his life, was in 98 when they won in Castlebar, and that was an amazing game of football. Kieran MacDonald rattling the crossbar, and there was a feeling that day as a Galway fan. I was young. There was a feeling that day that as much as it was really, really early on in the championship, we could be on a journey here because we went to Castlebar and won.
Wasn't I'm kind of literally speaking as I'm looking this up, but the 1998 Connacht Football Championship was also, yes, it was that Roscommon Galway epic over 2 games. Yes. So there is that chance that happens again this year, and it was getting absolutely not beaten up, but really put to the pin of their collar by Roscommon that year that allowed Galway to go on and achieve that. And that's my whole point this week as well, when people are getting in touch with me asking for the Excel sheet on the formula for the power rankings, because how can Mayo be ahead of Galway in the rankings? And I just want to see the next phase on this. I want to see the next phase of what Galway do next, which is beating Roscommon after losing to them twice, and I accepted those 2 games are nowhere near as important as the game that is probably going to be fixed for this year's Connacht final. So I think there's real excitement around this Galway team, but it's just really interesting to see what they do next, because the people who are giving out to you on Twitter, Tommy, are basing it on 2016 and to a certain extent maybe 2018. I know Mayo got dumped out in the qualifiers in 2018, but it has always felt to me that no matter what Galway do to Mayo and Connacht, Mayo will come good in the All-Ireland Championship. There's every chance this year is going to be different, but we just don't know.
Yeah, and I think they're also looking at that last 5 minutes of the game, Owen, where Mayo very nearly caught Galway. But I think the important thing is there that Mayo didn't catch Galway. I think Galway's game management in that game, their cynicism, their ability to learn from their mistakes last year when they were 6 points up at half time, Mayo come out and smash them. But you're totally right. Roscommon, on the other side of the draw, they're playing Sligo this weekend. They are eyeing up another Connacht final. The one thing I would say about Mayo and the qualifiers this year, as you mentioned, they could get an Armagh in the next round. They could get a Tyrone in the next round if they don't get the job done against Derry. James O'Donoghue is making no qualms about it on the football pod. He says that Kerry are out and out favourites. They should and they could win the All-Ireland this year. But if they don't, he's tipping Donegal for Ulster and Tyrone for the All-Ireland. And I found that very interesting.
Right. That's interesting. James O'Donoghue has been accused by his co-host of being anti-Tyrone and his bias. He's obviously changed a little bit. Like I'm interested in that as well, because I feel that the Tyrone departures have yet to catch up with them on the scoreboard, and in terms of results, and maybe that will happen eventually. But it's not like they're going to go through a series of games where they have to play back to back to back. If they go through the front door, especially, they should have a number of weeks off, and I think that those tired bodies isn't going to be an issue, and squad depth may not be as much of a problem as we think it might be.
Yeah, it's going to play itself out over the next couple of weeks. I'd agree with you. I'd have suspicions about the squad depth because it was so important last year. McShane, Canavan coming off the bench, Tiernan McCann in the All-Ireland final, Paul Donaghy come off the bench in the All-Ireland final. That was so important to them. And some of those players don't look like they're flying properly yet. But it's very early days. Like, the Dubs are back this weekend. And the exciting thing from Paddy there was about James McCarthy being back. Possibly. There was talk yesterday he's going to be captain for the year. I think he's a great fit. But also the possibility that Conor Callan is back. Like, we talk about Dublin being contenders. The one caveat is, if Conor Callan is there, Dublin are in the absolute mix. 100%.
Well, like, see, the thing about Con is that it's just, he's so unbelievably destructive, and he will be the centre of attention of your defence, that all of a sudden Dean Rock is more of an option from play, Cormac Costello is more of an option from play, Niall Scully's runs are more dangerous because you've got your best defender and your entire defence really focused around how do you stop Con. Like, that for me is the real story here for the Dubs, is that it will be a rising tide for all of those forwards, and it is just one piece of the jigsaw, but it will to a degree kind of complete that forward unit.
Without Paul Mannion though as well.
Well, if you had Paul Mannion, obviously it'd be better, but
yeah. Why would Dublin not win the All Ireland? Is it like, in the sense of how is it a situation where they're not even considered certainties to win Leinster now? Like, is there some cloud hanging over them that you can say they're kind of trolling us a bit in the league, but like, is there just something not right under this management? And I'm wondering this from afar, having not been, watching it every week in the league. But like, what's the feeling, Tommy?
Well, I suppose the feeling is, Paddy, there we go. Johnny, I'm calling you Paddy Anders with the glasses on. That 90 All-Ireland medals left that dressing room in about an 18-month period there, with all of the retirees, the players have stepped away. Last summer, there was definitely a cloud around Stephen Cluxon. Is he or is he not available? Like, those questions have never, ever properly been cleared up, do you know? And I think the doubts that are there are because we had never seen Brian Fenton lose a championship game of football. He's played football, championship football for Dublin, since 2015. He did not lose a game until last summer against Mayo in the championship. So, like, of course now there's questions. I was probably the lone wolf crying out that the Dubs are falling apart when Meath had a mini comeback against them in the second half last year. I was swatted away on the power rankings. Ultimately, I was proven wrong because they were knocked out. But I thought I was seeing chinks in the Dublin armour.
You were right. You were like, when Colm O'Rourke said at halftime against Mayo, we may as well go home. That's where Dublin were, and that psychological collapse for me is very hard to get your head around. In that, how did they resort to the desperation of that second half? It was, for me, it was one of the most compelling sporting experiences you'll see, to see a team that is so high just resort to that, and it was inexplicable.
Yeah, it was incredible. I don't know if it's inexplicable if you drill down into it, because Dublin's success, and reading Bernard Brogan's book a couple of years ago, like, the ferocious intensity of their A versus B games, their squad, in between the All-Ireland final replay. And I think that last 15 minutes against Kerry in 2019 is possibly the crowning moment of this Dublin side. They were a man down, they were losing to Kerry, this young Kerry team that were looking for an All-Ireland, and somehow they managed to keep ball with a man less and get an equaliser in injury time, bring the game to a replay. And Bernard Brogan spoke about trying to break into the 26 for the following weekend and how difficult that was, and the level of quality that they had in their B team. They had Owen O'Gara, Paddy Andrews, Bernard Brogan, couldn't get started. So like, if they're the options you have on the bench, Kevin McMiniman, Cormac Costello, they're the options that you have to bring on when the game is in the melting pot. When the Mayo second half happens last year, Dublin were always able to call on footballers of the year to come off the bench and save them. They couldn't anymore. It's a different profile. It's players that haven't done it before. I'm not saying they're not going to do it again. I feel like we're going to see All Irelands again for Kieran Kilkenny and Conor Callaghan and Brian Fenton. They're too good not to win All Irelands again. But will we ever see that dominance of not losing the championship game in 6 years?
Well,
I don't think so.
I think that there is a level of that collapse against Mayo which is still inexplicable, because say you put Dublin up against any team in this year's All Ireland Championship, what would the maximum handicap be for Dublin? So say you put them up against Kerry, who are favourites for the All Ireland right now. What would the handicap be on that? 3 points?
Yeah,
They were 6 points up against Mayo at half time. So that's not necessarily a collapse that you could predict as a result of a lack of depth in the squad. A 6 point collapse, given the position they were in, is still inexplicable in my view. And I Colm O'Rourke just happened to be on national TV, so he's the man who
saying
looks,
what everyone else thought.
exactly.
Yeah.
He doesn't look. Everybody looked foolish after that, and I think that there is still a bit more to be found out there, and I think that this season will tell us a lot. I actually think, Tommy, this weekend will tell us something. It's far from going to tell us the whole picture, but I still think this weekend, when they have to play a team that they're expected to beat handsomely, will they be back to like that 2017-2018 level of ruthlessness?
Don't see it.
Yeah.
Don't see.
It's
I
on
don't know,
TV.
Tommy, yeah.
The
Wexford
handicap
coming
is
in on a
13.
high as well, kind
13,
of.
right?
Wexford, the handicap is 13 points.
I would not
right.
expect Dublin to cover that. I would not expect Dublin to cover. There's nothing at all this year to suggest they're going to cover that.
I'd
There's been
agree
a few
with you,
moments
Johnny.
at the end of the, like, obviously Wexford were good last week, but you're still talking about a Division 1 team versus a Division 4 team, and a team that did manage to survive at the end of Division 1 managed to, like, say, look at the first half against Tyrone maybe as a thing you could look at from the league this year as something that could say that they could rack up a big score. By
Yeah.
and large, maybe not, but yeah.
There's definitely doubts in the squad. Definitely, there's confidence issues, but they could iron that out very quickly, lads. It doesn't take much for a team and a squad of players to click and for things to go right for them. Look at what happened to Tyrone last year. Hockey down in Killarney against Kerry, and they got it right. They got it together. A group of people moving in the same direction is powerful stuff when it all comes together.
Briefly on Galway as well, like just in reflection of the game, and you're on about Galway and the cynicism, which you wouldn't necessarily associate with Galway football, but maybe that they needed, Tommy, but to see an exponent of the kicking game that Paul Conroy is, to see him shine after a little bit of a wobble sort of in the middle third of the game, I just thought he is the most quintessential Galway footballer in terms of the way he plays. I just thought it was lovely to see someone who's had bad injuries to have the role that he had, and the beauty of the kick pass.
Yeah, Johnny, like Conroy has carried that Galway team in many ways for the last number of years. Joyce said a couple of weeks ago, they need more than Paul Conroy doing it. My favourite thing, as you said about Conroy, was that from his first 5 shots, he was 1 from 5. 2 wides, 2 short, 1 point. But he kicked 2 massive scores in that second half. And like even Shane Walsh wasn't that involved, but he had his moments and he delivered. Those points that he scored, those frees, they were clutch moments. They were huge and they sucked the life out of Mayo. And you mentioned cynicism, game management that we mightn't have associated with them before. It's all the winners have it. The Dubs had it when they were on that amazing run. New Zealand had it. Every great team has a streak of that. I'm not saying Galway are that yet, but they've opened the door for themselves. And that is the fascinating thing about this championship. Donegal have put their hands up. Galway have now put their hands up. They have to prove it. Dublin can prove us wrong. Tyrone can prove us wrong. Mayo can come through the back door. It's going to be fascinating.
We'll know a lot more come June 2nd.
When there's a roadshow.
Yeah, there's a roadshow where we can actually cast our eye over it in an
It's so
analytical
exciting.
way.
Yeah.
Honestly, Mayo people are so, like, this could be sold out at 9:10, and that's Castlebar people alone, like.
Yeah.
Well, Johnny, I think you're right. And that is the thing. Like, if you go on to Ticketmaster right now, there's a countdown, 49 minutes until you can get your tickets. Go get them. We'd love to see you there in the night. And we'll put on a great show. Paddy Andrews, James O'Donoghue, I'll be there. There'll be a couple of other special guests and events on the night as well. So looking forward to it, and hopefully we see you there.
Yeah, absolutely. Tommy, I regret to inform you we do not have time to preview Meath against Wicklow. I
Oh,
put aside
no.
a couple of hours for it. Meath to win by how many? Give us a number.
Well, like, lads, Wicklow had an unbelievable win last week. Kevin Quinn scored a hat-trick. Talk about being on a high. Meath are coming into this game cold. I saw comments from Andy McEntee earlier on that they have to be ready for championship. by God, do they have to be ready for Championship this weekend. They have home advantage. The last time they played Wicklow, they racked up, I think they scored 7 goals. But other games over the last decade have been quite close between the two counties. I'm not giving you a handicap here. Maybe tomorrow on the quick picks.
Meath by 1 billion is what Tommy Rooney is saying. Tommy, good stuff. Thanks a million.
Thanks, Owen. Thanks, Johnny. So take a master and search for the Football Pod Live. Talk to you soon.
Wicklow has a bigger population, I think, than Mayo, which is interesting. Why has
With the great underachievers.
Yeah, because we were talking about like Cork and Kerry yesterday, but Wicklow's an interesting one. It just doesn't have that tradition.
We'll be talking about Wicklow's finest later on in the show, of course. It's just it's a boxing county.
Yes, it's a boxing county.
12 minutes past 8 and we've got a packed show still to come on OTB AM. We'll hear from Graham Hunter on the Champions League next, but first just a reminder that the first stop on the Football Pod Roadshow is the Royal Theatre Castle Bar on Thursday, June 2nd, where Paddy, James and Tommy are going to dissect, analyse and celebrate Mayo football as well as Championship 2022 in the usual Football Pod style. Plus you can expect a local legend or two to join the lads on stage. So that's the Football Pod with Paddy and James, Castle Bar, June 2nd. Tickets are on sale from 9 o'clock this morning. Go to otbsports.com/events to get yours today. And you can stay tuned as well to OTB for details on more shows to come as well.